my fidget toy out today.
I could hear the spinning on the last one.
No, you couldn't. All right, so I think today we're going to talk about our upbringing a little bit more, right? And a little bit on where we're from and where we've been, where we're going.
A little bit of difference there in where we're from and where we grew up.
Yeah, I grew up in Rochester, New York. I didn't really get to say that or talk about that too much last time, but Rochester is a different place than West Virginia in general. I think it's not. There's pros and cons.
Well, when I think about New York, and I would think for a lot of people, like, I don't think of New York as anything else except New York City.
Almost everybody that's not from New York says, when I say I'm from New York, they think or ask if I'm from New York City. Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's the same here. Like when people say, when I tell people I'm from West Virginia, they're like, oh. I'm like, no, that part of West Virginia is like more west. or some people don't even know West Virginia is a state. They literally think it's Western Virginia.
Right.
And I'm like, no, you idiot. It's a whole state.
Exactly. And, I mean, West Virginia, I don't know if it's because of movies or how it's portrayed, but you never know what kind of response you're going to get from somebody when you say West Virginia.
I know what response I'm going to get.
Like, no. There's houses, there's people around.
There's houses.
We're not up in the boondocks and whatever happens
Meth
up there.
and moonshine is not really a problem here.
Yeah.
Well, kind of.
And we make sure we when growing up, we know who our cousins are.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, in Rochester, it also, for people who do know Rochester but don't live there, there's kind of a bad rap for a different set of reasons. Like, it's one of the murder capitals of the world.
Oh, wow, I did not know that.
Yeah. We have a lot of crime. The Kia boys are still big in Rochester. It never really happened here, but in Rochester, like, I have friends who got their same car stolen twice or three times.
Wow.
There was one night on one block where they stole like 50 cars overnight.
That's pretty insane.
There's not even 50 people in a 20-mile radius to my house.
I mean, that sounds like going in 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Rochester style.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it's different. But we also have, like, restaurants, not just fast food, or not just chain restaurants. Like, there's actual, like, chefs.
They just have to be walked to their cars after work.
Yeah, you just have to.
Like, what causes that? Like, why is it like that then?
I mean, the socioeconomic reasons for crime. Where are we going with this? I mean, it's just there's a lot of poverty in Rochester. Yeah, there's a lot of poverty, and it's very the city is very cut up too, based on like economics. Like some streets, it's like you cross a invisible line, and right then you're in a place that's not safe. And
well, I mean, West Virginia definitely has those places like that. I believe it's Huntington that has a very big just drug area, and I'm sure like one of the reasons it's probably not safe is just because people are out and about trying to get money to supply themselves, and like I don't think people are maliciously bad.
Yeah.
I think they just do things to provide their habit.
Yeah, right. Like addiction's a hell of a thing. I get it. In Rochester, there's that. There's also a lot of the violence. Also, you would just not be susceptible to because a lot of it is gang violence. So, like, and I'm not just saying that, but like if you're not in a gang, you're probably gonna be fine. I mean, if you're not, walking around with the wrong colors or something.
So I mean, in Rochester,
if you're not gang banging, you're pretty safe for the most part.
So in Rochester, is there places when you live there you stay away from, or if you live there,
for
you're
sure.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, there's streets where you just don't hang. But I think some of that might just be because I grew up in the suburbs.
Right.
I don't know that I would necessarily be unsafe there, but it's just we've been told that those are the areas you don't hang, and grew up that way. But I mean, when I was a kid, my dad took us places. My dad took me places that probably a lot of kids in my school and stuff wouldn't have gone to, or they thought that was the hood or whatever. But I never felt truly unsafe with my dad, mostly because he carried a couple pistols at a time. But
right. Well, that's one way to feel like you're protected a little more in that situation. But I mean, my family used to go to New York City once or twice every year.
See, New York City always feels safe to me.
Well, so
you might get weirdos or pickpockets or something, or people trying to hustle you on the street, sell you crap. But I don't actually. I've never gone to New York City and felt, oh, I'm scared.
No, I mean, as many times I've been, I've never felt that way. One time, there was a shoe store that we really wanted to go to, and it was in Jamaica, Queens. And we parked along the road, and I felt it wasn't the same as Times Square.
Yeah, okay.
So,
right.
I mean, it's like anything else. I think, like, once you get off track of some place that you shouldn't go, or it's just a little different. But, yeah, I mean, it's still there. There was no bother or anything, but I think it's like anywhere. Anything can happen at any time, honestly.
Yeah, no, that's true. I think that's how I feel about most. Like, in our old neighborhood where we lived, there's been some violence there recently. I think somebody got carjacked. Down the street, there's been a couple shootings, like, nearby the old house. And so, like, neighborhoods can turn or violence can happen. But I don't know. I guess I've always felt like it's probably, I'm not involved in those things. It's probably not going to happen to me. My attitude towards a lot of stuff is more like, I don't know. It's probably it's like getting struck by lightning. It's unlikely.
Exactly.
So I'm just not going to worry about it. I'm prepared, but I'm not going to worry about it.
I mean, you can live in the safest neighborhood, and if you have that one kid that's involved in something, and a drive-by happens because they didn't pay somebody, and your house is in the middle of it, like,
it can happen.
It can happen.
Speaking of drive-bys, Rochester is literally the place. You may have seen this about a year ago. It was a national news story, but a guy was being interviewed about a drive-by shooting, and while he's being interviewed, there's a drive-by shooting in the background.
Oh my gosh!
And he's just kind of like, oh well, yeah, right there, like it's happening right behind him.
That's intense.
Yeah, Rochester's different. It's different. I feel very safe here. I didn't realize maybe there was some anxiety about where I was living that I didn't feel, because when I moved here, it's just like I feel very relaxed about my safety. I don't worry that, I might have left the car unlocked, or I might have left my door unlocked. I mean, I lock those things. Don't come to my house. But, I don't worry about it like I did there. And,
I mean, there's people that live by here, and I would say this part of West Virginia that we live in, there are a lot more communities, there are a lot more housing than your normal West Virginia, where you go through the mountains and it's houses spread out and the developments are far few between. But even riding along main roads, even if you go out at nighttime, there's people that leave their garage doors up during the night. So, yeah. I mean, you got to feel like you're in a pretty safe area if you're okay with leaving your garage doors up along main roads. But I mean, I've grew up here all my life. I was born in Virginia, but I still lived in West Virginia.
Your parents
just traveled up there to be popped out.
Your parents were like, let's go to a better hospital.
Yeah. But yeah, even where I live now, I grew up like 2 minutes away. And I mean, the biggest crime I've ever seen is somebody stole my go-kart one time when I was younger. There's like a child center for like kids that
Did you ever retrieve this golf cart?
a go-kart.
Go-kart.
Yes, we did retrieve it.
You found it?
Yeah, it was my a friend of my father's, some relation to them. They literally drove it on the railroad tracks from my house all the way into Maryland. It was tore to shit when I got it. There was no bringing it back, but we found it.
A friend of your dad's kids?
A friend of my dad's nephew or something like that came and took it during the night, jumped on the railroad tracks by our house, and probably rode it 15 miles on the railroad tracks back to Maryland.
What would you say if he listens to this podcast? What would you say to him now?
That wasn't very nice of you.
That's very West Virginia of you to say that.
Fuck you. Yeah. Yeah, well, that was one of my favorite things to do. I mean, it was just you can imagine riding on railroad tracks for 15 miles, how beat up it was. And,
oh, yeah.
I had a bike stolen, minor things.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have a child, I don't know what it's really called. It's like kids that have some problems in school and at home. They go there and live there for a while, and they try to help straighten them up. There's one a couple miles up the road. And
one of these Dr. Phil centers?
Pretty much, yeah. They have this badass climbing center for them, and there's so much for them to do. And the problem is there's no gates around it. So if they don't want to be there,
they just dip out.
They just escape at any time. And they don't arrest them. They have to come and try to coax them back in. So
do they go there because they committed crimes?
No, it's because they're just troubled children. Troubled children, to be generous. Gotcha. But yeah, we found them in vehicles here, sleeping at night. We found their clothes, when they leave, they run away and they'll sleep in cars and stuff like that. Then you call a center, they come out and they're like, "Come on, Bobby, come on, we got to go back to the center." And Bobby's like, "Oh yeah, fuck you, I'm not going back there." And they're like, "No, Bobby, here's the car doors open," and you're standing there watching this happen.
Oh my
because
God.
They can't go grab them, they can't call the cops, nothing like that, because they can't keep them in there like a prison.
Jesus, dude.
So it's still open, and I don't know, I haven't heard anything for a while, but yeah, that was a problem all the time. Escapees.
Yeah. Do you so you grew up, you said just a couple minutes from here. What have you ever lived anywhere else out of this area? You ever move and come back?
No. Always lived here. The longest I've ever stayed anywhere from here was Costa Rica. I went to Costa Rica and stayed there 36 days in a row one time.
Oh, wow.
So,
36 days.
I wouldn't technically say live somewhere else, but it's more than a vacation.
That's an extended vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah. What brought you there for 30 days?
So I went there in college. I was a psychology major, and you had to have Spanish 1, 2, 3, and 4. Well, I barely made it through 1 and 2. So when they said, "Hey, pay a couple $1,000, go live in Costa Rica for 30-something days, we'll give you 3 and 4." I was like, okay, I'm good with that.
Wait. So you just by physically going to Costa Rica, you got your credits for 3 and 4?
So
did you have to pass any tests or anything?
No, they're just just pay us for this.
You're speaking English the whole time?
Yeah. So the thing with it was that includes your whole trip. Pretty much you were given one of the Spanishes. Okay, you're going to pass Spanish 3 or 4. But the other one, you're going to have to go. We had to go to school every day.
Okay.
So we had to get
in Costa Rica.
Yeah. So we went to school Monday through Friday. On the weekends, they took us away different places, and we got to go to beaches, and we stayed at hotels.
Oh, sounds terrible.
Yeah, that's a terrible way to get your Spanish 3 and 4. But you have to stay with a family.
Oh.
So I'm already in a different country. I have no idea what Spanish is hola, baño. Bathroom.
That's how far you are?
That's probably up. And they're like, "Okay, you're going to wait out here after we get off the plane. We go to the school, and you wait your turn until your family picks you up." And that's how you get introduced to who you're going to live with for 36 days. So this little old couple gets out, and they're like, "Hola," and they're like, "Okay, go get in their car." That's who you're going to go to their house. I'm like, oh,
Is
my
there background
God.
checks on these people? Or
I mean, who knows? They're getting some kind of pay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I stayed in their house, in their room. It was awkward the first, I would say, 4 or 5 days because you're like waking up in the morning, you're eating breakfast with them. You eat lunch at the
How was
school.
their English?
Oh, there was none.
So you weren't talking?
No, so my talking consists of saying like one words at a time or like drawing things like this. Like one day they were supposed to pick me up.
Banana. Can I?
Yes. So one day they were supposed to pick me up from school and they didn't. And it poured down rain.
And it was raining?
And I got soaked. And I walk in and they're like, Waves or however you say, I think that's rain or something. I'm like, yeah, rain, wet, no pick me up. And they're like, huh. I'm like, great. So yeah, I was soaked that day.
Oh God, that's
But
so
they
great.
were so sweet. The mom was so sweet. Just that day
Did they have kids?
Yeah. He actually lived in a house too. He could speak a little bit of English,
Yeah.
but he didn't come out much. I don't know what he did. Like for 30 some days, like I barely saw him. He was on the other side of the house.
He was jealous.
He probably was.
He's like, this gringo
Yeah.
taking all my parents' attention.
That's probably what it was. And they definitely don't feed you enough. Like,
Yeah, you were hungry there.
oh my gosh, like they get paid to feed you. But
You know, I
but
went to
portions-
Costa Rica and I feel like I never really had Costa Rican food. Like it was like chicken and rice sort of deal, you know?
You know, like in the mornings it was the same thing: beans, rice, and eggs with some fresh fruit.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and then I found her bread cabinet, and like at night when everybody would go
Right
to
in the
sleep,
bread cabinet.
There was like this fresh like bag of like 4 or 5 loaves of bread. And I would go out each night and break it off and go in my room and like eat it.
Like Aladdin.
But I mean,
So
they're
good.
small people, so they don't
They're
eat
small
as much.
people. you were helping them out. Really. That bread would have gone to waste.
Like their portions are very small.
Yeah, I hate that.
So I mean, after a long day of learning Spanish, my brain was fried and my tummy was hungry.
I did a one-way trip to Thailand that was about, I think it ended up being about 30 days. I did something similar. I didn't stay with anybody though. I went with a buddy. My uncle lives out there, and an uncle who I'd never met in person.
Oh wow!
So yeah, I went and visited, and it was funny. So we went to this. He lived in this city called Pattaya. Is how you say it, kind of ish. If there's any Thai people listening, I'm sorry. But he comes out. He lives in this high rise. So like we're pulling up to the high rise, and he comes down, and he's this big dude, and he's kind of like got a giant belt buckle. He almost feels like he's from Texas, even though I don't think he was. I mean, my family all grew up in Rochester, but he comes out and he's like, "Welcome to Patio, boys." He says it completely wrong, and I'll never forget the way he said that. But yeah, he lives there on his Social Security income, which is like 30-something thousand a year, if I remember, in a high rise, like in a top, like high end apartment. He's got a driver. His furniture was all new. Like,
Wow.
lives great for around 30 grand a year.
I mean, I just saw recently Thailand that it was the guy was paying like $350 and his place was like 2 or 3 bedrooms, and like he's like, this is the place. Like
Yeah.
when you come over here, you can get a lot for what your savings of your life have been to live off of.
Your savings go a long way there. Yeah. One of the first nights, we didn't plan a single hotel. So we literally got there. It was over 24 hours of travel. Which, by the way, there's another funny one. Stop in the Turkish airport in Istanbul.
Mm-hmm.
This is after, I think, 18 hours in a plane. We stop in Istanbul. So I go there. And I'm like, oh, I really have to go to the bathroom. I got to take a shit. You know? Go into the stall. There's no toilet, no toilet paper holder, no toilet paper. No, there's nothing in there. There's a hole in the ground, and a faucet and a cup.
Like, what do
A
you?
hole, faucet, and a cup.
So you So when you go there and you're
use
not
your imagination. What you're supposed to do.
You have to be MacGyver. Like you have to start. Like, how am I going to take this?
This was in the airport. That was a public airport bathroom. Now there may have been stall toilets. I'm not gonna say like, oh no, there's no toilets in Istanbul. But when I got there, the stall I went into, maybe I picked the wrong one, was a hole in the ground and a faucet and a cup.
Wow.
Yeah. So needless to say, that was an experience. And then we get to Thailand and we had no hotel planned, so we're tired as fuck. We walk in this first hotel we see. And it was pretty nice. But like it was what we would say here might be like $200 a night sort of deal, which doesn't go far now, but it was pretty nice. And it was like $30. It was like $30 to go, and then, man, my days and nights were so fucked up from that point on. Like, the first night we get there, we took a nap. It was probably like noon. We took like a nap. And because neither of us could sleep really on the plane, so slept, and then it was like 9 or 10 p.m. when we woke up. so then we were out. The first night we stayed up and out until 7 in the morning, like all night, and then we're fucked for the next 2 days after that.
So wait, the $30, like you were actually impressed with the hotel then?
Yeah.
So for that.
Yeah, it was nice. I mean, we stayed at one other nice place. The rest of the stay, we pretty much stayed in hostels and like shitty places that were like $1 or like $5. But that was one of the nicer places we stayed at for $30.
Wow, that's insane.
The only other place that was nicer was when we got closer to the islands. Some of the places get a little more touristy. Mm-hmm. There's an island called Phuket. You ever heard of Phuket?
Phuket. It's
spelled PH, so Americans say fuck it.
Oh.
Fuck it.
I mean, now that you said the PH, I feel like I've seen that word
Phuket.
Before.
Yeah.
Phuket.
Yeah, it's really. I think it's just Phuket, but in that island, which is completely a tourist island, yeah, it's like probably hundreds to stay there, and it's real nice. But you go anywhere where there's Thai people and not Americans, and it's cheap as fuck.
So when you were there, did you stay originally in a popular place or more like in...
Well, you fly into Bangkok. So Bangkok's it's bigger than New York City, I think, in terms of cars and people.
This is bringing me
it's big.
Back to the Hangover. Like Hangover type
trip. It was similar to that before it came out. We were the original Hangover.
That's where they got it from.
Shout out to Jay. But yeah, so super populated, not super clean. At least in my experience, the whole city smells like shit.
Well, I mean, how were the bathrooms compared to
they had regular bathrooms, like regular toilets.
Now, I will say, when I bringing up the bathroom part, the most weird and disturbing thing when we went to Costa Rica, they don't like to flush their toilet paper because they feel like it doesn't clean their it messes with their system.
No toilet paper?
So
what do you got to do? Shitty toilet paper goes in the trash can?
Yes.
Get the fuck out of here.
So every day, every time you go to the bathroom, you wipe and you throw the paper into the trash can in the house.
Oh, God.
And every morning,
someone's got to take out the shitty trash.
The mom of the house comes in and puts in a new trash bag. But they don't like any toilet paper flushed in their toilet. It all goes into the trash can.
Oh, man.
So, I mean, that is like, that was a shock.
At that point, I'd rather have, what do they call it, bidet or something.
Yeah, like...
I don't want... that's gross.
Yeah, I never got used to that part. Like, I don't care how long I was there. Like, even at the end, it just felt awkward every time I went to the bathroom. All 30-some days there. Like, it's not normal. Like, like, you would have to, like, really get into the groove. Maybe if it was me at my own house with my own family, but I felt, like, disgusting making this poor little Costa Rican woman get my poopy naps every morning, you know?
Yeah. Obviously, you didn't feel too bad, though, because you didn't do it yourself.
No. And I still win. They did have a dog, though. So I could have went out where he goes.
Just shit in the yard?
Yeah. It was a cute little dog.
About the same. Did anything happen to you when you were traveling to Costa Rica that you felt like was unsafe?
So one time we went up into like through the mountains and stuff, and on the weekend, and it was just like you see on like a TV show where you're in a giant bus and you're going through the mountains, and like their wheel is on the side of the mountain when you're going around.
Ass, right?
Yeah, like barely enough room where when two cars come, the bus has to get right against the mountain while the car goes right against the edge, and like when they're turning, like you're looking down over the side, like at any moment, like just a tire slip. Like that's some true shit that you see.
And the driver's relaxed. He's doing it one-handed.
Yeah, he's up there texting.
He's texting,
watching Netflix.
That's wild.
Yeah, but unsafe-wise, no. I mean, it's very popular for the safety. Like people are just very relaxed. They're nice. They're calm, and that's the way they live life there.
Pura vida, right?
Pura vida, pure life, baby.
I think also there's the like any economy that really thrives because of tourism, they pay special attention to the security of tourists. Because if you get a bad rap, like there goes your money.
Oh right, yeah.
You know.
You know, then we put up. The United States usually puts up if something happens. Like here's a red sign, like divert from travel there.
Don't travel there. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, a lot of these places depend on our money to survive, especially when they're a little country like that. But yeah, I mean, that would definitely be a place out of the country. That would be a place for us to consider moving down the road.
We have a family on both sides, my wife and I, that are interested in moving to Costa Rica.
Would you live in Thailand?
Oh, no, never. It was great. I had a great time, but I would never move there. And
how about you with the safety? Like safety, the niceness, how people will adapt to you there?
People were great. They bared with me for the fact that I didn't know any Thai when I went. You know, they were friendly. At worst, you get ripped off because you're white. You know, they're like,
right.
They're going to charge you more. But even when you're getting ripped off, it's still cheap as fuck. Like $1 is 350 baht. At least it was when I went. It's probably different now. But $1 was 350 baht. And we could get beer for like 50 or 100 baht.
Wow.
So it's like 30 cents.
Now, can you use American money there, or it has to be?
Some people will take it for like, I think the novelty factor, but they would change it in probably to their own currency. Like one time we had a taxi driver who drove us. He drove us 2 hours to a place and back. This was a 4-hour taxi ride. He waited and drove us back. He was basically our tour guide for the day. I think we paid him $20.
Wow. I mean, in the United States, a 4-hour trip would cost you
Imagine getting an Uber.
Gas.
Imagine getting an Uber to 2 hours. No way.
No.
No way. It'd be hundreds.
Yeah, because, I mean, the last time I took a Uber, I think the ride was maybe 6-7 miles, depending on traffic, was 20 with a tip.
Bucks. Yeah, easy. Yeah, but I could tell you a story. I felt a little bit unsafe in Thailand, but it wasn't really the safety we've been talking about. So I'm gonna try to tell you this in the most accurate way possible, not embellish anything. But it is almost unbelievable. So there's an island in Thailand. There's an old movie actually called The Island. And there's an island that is located there that was filmed at. And, you know, in the movie it was this perfect beach. Actually, the movie's called The Beach, not The Island. Sorry, The Beach.
I know for a second I was like, I heard of this movie.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, oh, I've heard of The Beach.
I've heard
too.
of The Beach, yeah. And I think it was Koh Samui or Koh Phi Phi is the island. I can't remember.
Koh Phi Phi.
Koh Phi Phi and Phuket.
They have some good names over there.
I know, it's good stuff. So we want to go. There's some boats that can charter you to this island, and none of them were going out. They were like, nah, it's too wavy, too windy. We're not going out. Now, something you know when you live in Thailand for a little while is basically there are no real strict rules, and everything's negotiable. You can negotiate your groceries. You can negotiate everything. And so, me and the dude I was with, me and Jay, were just like, all right, well, how about for $10? The guy was like, okay. So
it was dangerous till you just threw that out there.
Yeah. So the boat, he pulls up in his boat. The boat we get in is literally a handmade wooden boat. It's a long tail boat. So it has, it almost looks like a Viking ship, right? But it's kind of like a long canoe with heightened tips on both sides. And then he's got a long metal rod and a propeller connected to a diesel engine, handmade, 100% handmade. This boat he made.
Did you have any second thoughts before you did this? Like,
we
did you
drank
think
a
at all,
little.
should we or not? Or it was like,
we were pretty much always drinking on this trip.
so that Viking boat was looking pretty badass.
Pretty sweet. Yeah. We didn't even see the waves. We're like, no, that's not wavy. So we get in. A couple Australian guys join us. A couple other people join us. There's probably 7, 8 people on this boat plus the driver. And another thing you should know about Thai people is they, at least in my experience, they were pretty they didn't really show their emotions on their face. They didn't really get scared or laugh like big, like they were just kind of more, I don't know, what's the word?
Neutral? Like
Neutral.
a neutral emotion.
They were pretty neutral.
Mm-hmm.
Chill, nice people, but pretty neutral. So we're riding along. We had a couple waves. We're like, oh wow, that's a wave, and then there's some real big waves, and the water is just coming over on top of us into the boat. And I look back and I see the driver and he's scared, and I'm like, oh fuck, we're in trouble.
When the driver is scared.
When the captain of the ship is scared, I was scared. So, I mean, he hit one wave a little sideways, and the water came over, and we were rocking. It was rough. The boat's made of wooden boards too,
right.
And there's water seeping through. We're literally bailing out water from this boat, and we do that for probably 10 or 15 minutes, and we get near the island. I could see the island, and he's like, "Oh, we can't go around to the beach and park like we normally do. It's too wavy, too rocky." So he's like, "I'm gonna park here, and you guys have to swim." It's open sea, and probably, I don't know, a half mile, maybe, of open sea to the side of the island that is a cliff face, rocks. And you could see from this distance that there's like netting, rope on that cliff face. And he's like, yeah, you go swim that way. And his English is broken, but he's basically saying, swim in and climb the rope. And now I'm not a great swimmer. There's no life preservers. There's no, this is just a boat. This dude just drove us on his boat, right? So I'm the first one. I don't know why. I jump out into the open sea. I'm not a great swimmer. Immediately have salt water in my mouth and shit. And I swim in, which takes for fucking ever. Meanwhile, there's this jacked Australian guy who's breaststroking it. I'm kind of like, oh fuck, in this big ass waves and everything. Get to this rock face, and the rope isn't tied down at the bottom. So every time there's a wave, the rope comes back and smashes back against the rocks. So as you're climbing it, it's literally like you're smashing against the rocks. So I had bloody knees, bloody arms, everything. Climbed probably 20 feet on this slippery algae rope. 20 feet up, maybe more. And then I finally felt like a fish out of water. I get onto the platform where there's ground. There's a guy right at the top. And he's like, it's $20. Yeah, just some total scam. There's a lot of this shit there. And he's immediately just asked for money.
So that's basically a way to, does that give you then access to this,
apparently
public beach already?
It's a public beach, and he just was scamming us, and there was no one else there.
Man,
so I'm I had a little waterproof fanny pack thing, so I give him the money. We get to the beach. It is cool, but it's so fucking windy that the sand is sandblasting us. So we're fucked up. I think we took 1 or 2 photos, and then had to swim all the way back to the boat.
You had to pay for this.
I had to pay for this life potentially life-threatening scenario I had to pay for. Yeah. That's probably the most dangerous thing that happened to me in Thailand.
I would say. I mean, there was a lot. It wasn't just like one instance that you could have been in danger. There was like every step of the way.
Yeah, it was dumb.
Like
yeah.
it sounds like in like an Indiana Jones movie. Like you're just
And
going through, like, these different.
I really
stages
was
out
not
in the
trying to
wild.
embellish anything. Like I really think that's as accurate as I could tell that story.
Wow.
Yeah.
Would you do it again? The same situation.
Today, fuck no. No shot. No shot. I'd be like, all right, well, I guess we're not going to go see the island. But
I mean, I think it's no joke when you go to different countries, and I've been to Cancun multiple times, and it's not a joke when they say don't go to these different places, and it pops up all the time. Like you see, somebody was murdered here, somebody was beheaded here. Like that's why
Mexico's
they
no
tell
joke.
you,
Yeah.
like that's why they don't mess around.
Did you ever go off the resort in Cancun?
I did go off the resort in Cancun.
You want to tell us that story?
So, you know, back when I first started going, I was 18.
Yeah.
Cancun, you can drink when you're 18.
Yeah, buddy.
So the first time we went, me and my buddy, I went with him, and I mean, yeah, people drink when they're underage at a party or something like that. I didn't.
Of course not.
But there, I mean, you're 18. It's like, hey, you're 21.
Yeah.
So, you know, we drank, and the first time we went out, we went downtown Cancun, which I would not go today. Like, I mean, this is when you're 18, and you know, being younger than, and we'll get to this next part too that kind of interacts with the West Virginia thing and Rochester. I'll have to ask you about. So, being from West Virginia, we have lots of strip clubs.
Oh, yeah, of course.
I mean, that's one thing. Around our area, there's not a shortage of strip clubs. And, you know, workers come from D.C., they come from Baltimore. It's only an hour drive for them. So when we get over there, we've been drinking and we've been out to the bars. We're like, hey, let's bring some West Virginia back to Cancun. Where's your strip club at? So we go to a taxi driver. A taxi driver's like, yeah. I'll take you to a strip club.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we hop in, and we're like, about to go to a Mexican strip club. We can say we had this experience. Well, we were all jolly and laughing and carrying on until we noticed that we got about 25 minutes outside of the city. And we start it's starting to get dark, and all we see there is nothing. It is just dry land on left and right. And I'm like, we're dead.
This is it.
Like, I remember being 18 and me and my buddy just like scooted next to each other. Like we were like two little kids in the back seat. Like this is the end.
We done fucked up. Yeah.
So we kept going and going about a half hour, 35 minutes, and did exactly what they tell you not to do. Is to go off the resort and go out of Cancun. So all of a sudden, out in the middle of this like desert area, there's 3 big buildings, and I'm like, yeah, this is where they're gonna like cut our fingers off and like torture us. But he's like, strip club. I'm like, strip club, okay.
All right, yeah.
So we pull in. No Americans.
Yeah.
We walk in the door.
Everyone looks at you.
Everyone looks at you. Not the fact that they're mad you're there. It's the fact like money signs.
Yeah.
Like we are going to rip them off because
Yeah.
if not, they won't make it back. So I knew we were screwed when the driver's like, I'm not going to wait in my car. I'm going to go in with you. Like, you need me to go in and sit with you. And at first I'm like, yeah, he just wants to go in the strip club too. But no, he like sat there and he took a nap while we were in there. He just wanted to make sure that there was somebody from there with us the entire time.
Wow, good on that guy, I guess.
So
That guy saved your life.
they come up, the manager comes up and he acts like, you know, he's the nicest guy, whatever.
course.
I know you work at a strip club and you're a manager, like, you're here to rip me off too. Let me get you all a drink. We have a special fish bowl. Okay. Come back. $25 a piece.
Yes, sir.
I'm
You
gonna
are.
say no.
Yeah.
So after a while, they kept forcing us to get drinks.
Yeah.
Well, we're like, we're not going to get out of here unless we spend, you know, whatever they're trying to get us to spend. Eventually, they're like, you owe us this, and we're like, we're not going to have enough money to pay you for any more drinks. They're like, ATM outside. I'm like, oh, okay, here we go. And I mean, they didn't do anything to us, but they had like two guys walk us out, go to the ATM, watch us get our money out. And I think for drinks and seeing some boobies cost like $300 and a life death sentence. Like, but I mean, that's the kind of stuff you do when you're 18. Like, you don't take it serious once you start going to another country and you drink. Yeah. That night could have went totally wrong.
That's
like
for sure.
That. It could have went. That could have been it.
That could have been it.
I mean, when you've been drinking, maybe it's not as bad if that's it, because everything's like jolly and takes some time to sink in. But I tell you what, by the time we got there, I was sobered up.
Yeah.
Because I knew it was just a bad situation.
Yeah.
But when they tell you, listen to them. Don't take the risk.
Don't go off the resort. Yeah.
No, I don't.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of stupid mistakes you see these younger kids get into when they go over there. You think you're invincible, and there's warnings for a reason.
Yeah.
There's places in the United States. Like,
yeah, no doubt. Rochester, New York.
Yeah.
Don't fuck around in Rochester.
Don't get into Rochester, New York.
Yeah.
But
what were you gonna say about Rochester? You said there is some connection back to West Virginia and Rochester about that.
Oh, well, I was gonna ask, like, how big, like, Rochester. I don't know why. I mean, I do know why, because where we live, we are within 25 minutes of about 3 or 4 states.
That's true.
We live in a very different part of West Virginia where we could be in 3 or 4 states within a half hour. So yeah. I guess that's why our part that we live in has so many strip clubs. But is Rochester like that?
I mean, Rochester has about 1 million people in the greater Rochester area, and our area of West Virginia is 20,000, 30,000, I think. 36,000, I think, the last time I looked. Mm. So it's just a lot smaller here. So surprising that we have as many clubs as we do, although I think a few are shut down. I think there's only really 2, 3.
Yeah. I mean, when I was growing up, 18, I think we had a total of, I want to say 6 or 7 within a 15-mile radius.
Because you can go to another state, right?
Well, no. I mean, that's just in West Virginia. Within a 15-mile radius, there were 6 to 7 strip clubs at one time when I was 18. And I think now it's down to maybe 2.
Yeah.
But at one point, it was like running our county, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it was very strange that it was so popular. But maybe it was because of the other states weren't as open for it.
Yeah. So in Rochester, we have a couple. There's not that many. Maybe 4. But it's, again... 10 times the size, more.
But
I mean, it's like 40 times the size.
That's insane.
So,
like that much bigger, and
there's not that many more. There's about the same number of clubs.
And the problem with the clubs, though, like,
Rochester is a conservative place in a lot of ways, like in a morals and values sort of way. Even
right.
Politically, it's not, but they are like old school. There's a lot of older folks that live there that run the law in Rochester and Monroe County and even Western New York in general. And it's like they're very old school. Like a lot of the clubs. Another big thing is there's no full nudity in Rochester, in New York.
Well, that's why. That's one of the reasons that we were so big at that time too, because we did have that, and we could draw in the crowd.
Yeah.
From the DC, Baltimore, PA. Maybe they even came from Rochester down.
I think they would have stopped in Pennsylvania first.
But the problem, what brings with that is crime also.
Yeah.
Like, so when you have people coming from different areas, there's some clashes of heads when they get into a club like that, and some of our places have been shut down because of the violence that occurs with different people coming from different areas. So,
yeah.
But I would say, like, I've been to places, and this is a good question with you with Rochester. People are nice around here, but
yeah, they are.
It's not as welcoming as some places. Like, if you go down south, man, those people are so nice.
I don't want to hear it. In Rochester, people don't look at you. They don't smile. They don't say hello.
Oh.
No good morning. They don't hold the door for you. This feels like Southern hospitality here in West Virginia. Like if I walk down the street in Rochester and I see my neighbor, there's a 50% chance they won't say hello.
Wow.
If I walk down my street and I see my neighbor, even if he's driving by, he stops the car and has a conversation with me.
Right.
Asks me how my daughter's doing. Remembers my name. I'm like, oh fuck, I forgot his name. Like, you know, they
I'm not used to this.
Yeah, they're nice. People here are nice.
Yeah, people are nice.
It's so different.
But when you're used to it, then you're looking for more nice.
You won't. Yeah, it never ends, and then you end up in Costa Rica.
Like you go down south to like Myrtle Beach and different things, and you walk in a convenience store. It's like, hey, baby, how are you doing today,
well,
honey?
I get darling and honey here. I mean, at Wendy's, there's
maybe it's the way you look.
Go to Wendy's. Go to Wendy's, and the lady's like, hey, honey, you want some of these new saucy nugs?
They're like, this poor boy's from Rochester. We better treat him nice.
Make sure he stays. Yeah. You know, what's another thing about the difference between Rochester and West Virginia I think is funny, or this area. Up there, people really strongly identify with their heritage, like their lineage, and like you know, where their grandparents were from and stuff like that.
Wow.
But I feel like here people are just like, oh no, yeah, I'm from West Virginia.
Yeah.
You know, I'm Appalachian.
I mean, yeah, people don't get into. I mean, that's way different.
Yeah, like I mean, there's a huge Italian influence in Rochester. Lots. Like, you ask a lot of people. Like, if you go there and you say, oh, like, where are you guys from? Even if it's like they've been American for 3 generations, they'll say, oh yeah, Italy. We're Italian. And there's a lot of like Italian stuff. Like a lot of families will cook Sunday sauce.
Olive Garden?
No. I mean, they do have Olive Garden, but there's like actual Italian restaurants. Again, that's big.
Right.
You know, there's places that feel like you're going into some fucking mafia setting, you know, with the checkered white and red tablecloth and grandma's making meatballs in the back. It's like very different.
We used to have a place like that in Maryland. We would go to almost every weekend. My family would.
Yeah.
And it was like the most comfortable setting where you walk in. They're playing Italian music. The owner, the daughter that ran it were Italian. They made it like, I mean, I was a kid growing up, but it was like a romantic setting, even though it was still relaxing. And it was so disappointing when they closed because it is such a cooler setting to sit there and eat than go to Olive Garden, and there's
no culture there. Yeah,
no culture.
So like people in Rochester are big on that. Not even just Italian, but you know, there's groups and pockets of people from all over the world there, and I feel like they're really more proud of it, or like identify more with it. And here, you ask people where they're from, and they're like, I'm from West Virginia.
Now, how about Rochester? Like here, where we live now, there's no shortage of Hispanic restaurants.
Yeah, there's a lot of Mexican joints and stuff, yeah.
Right, and it's just like...
Rochester has a lot of that, too.
It's nice. There's a lot to pick from, but you wish there was more, like...
That's the only cultural food that you guys have, though.
Right.
Like with maybe a few small exceptions. But, like, in Rochester, in Rochester, the city, there are 10 good Thai places. There are 10 good, you know, Chinese places. There are 10 good... There's like food, African food. There's an Ethiopian place that's awesome. There's so much cultural food there, and then all the fusion stuff, the latest stuff, American food done at high end. Like there's a joint in Rochester that, you know, they'll give you a $50 cheeseburger. I know it sounds crazy, but it's the best cheeseburger you ever had.
I mean, speaking of food, what's your favorite food?
Oh, dude. I mean, my wife was picking on me the other day because I have trouble picking favorites. Maybe it's the tism, but you know, I have trouble picking a single favorite of anything, I think, because I have to weigh it all out, take it too seriously.
Like, but if somebody came up to you and said between life and death, you have to pick this food to live off of for the next 10 years.
So that's how I think, and that's too much pressure, bro. That's too much pressure. I mean, if I tell you one, I'm afraid that's what's going to happen. But okay, like I really like ice cream, but I don't want to eat ice cream for 10 years.
Oh my gosh.
I really like I like a good cheeseburger, like a smash burger, but every day.
That would be mine.
Smash burger?
Cheeseburger of any kind.
Cheeseburger.
I could live off cheeseburger.
There's enough variation in cheeseburgers too. You can get an egg on it, get some bacon.
Like I've been loving cheeseburgers since probably hence the cheeseburger. Like since I was young.
Would you eat a cheeseburger right now?
Oh, I would eat a cheeseburger for breakfast every day.
11 o'clock, yeah.
Oh yeah, I love cheeseburger. Like I mean, there was times when I was younger where I'd pound down like 6-7 burgers. Like if I go to a cookout, you better put a limit on how many burgers.
How many burgers?
Yeah.
What do you think about Five Guys?
Five Guys is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're
something's up with their food. I feel like I can literally only eat one of their burgers. Whereas, like you said, I can go to a cookout or anywhere else and eat several burgers.
Yeah, I can eat a double. I get the double burger there.
Yeah.
And like that's filling.
That's a lot.
But I don't know what it is about a cookout. Like a cookout, I feel like you can fix 3 or 4 and
easy.
Who knows what they do to these food out there and about? And who wants to make you feel full and who doesn't want to make you feel full? But pizza, I could do pizza. That would be my 2 things I could do every day.
Pizza, I'm with you. I could eat pizza anytime. Now, I grew up in a family where we left our pizza out. Like we'd order pizza, leftovers stay on the counter.
Mm.
Nobody does that here. I think it was probably like that's foodborne illness, but for some reason we never got sick as kids. Maybe because with 6 of us in the house,
we've done it, but it was an accident.
Yeah,
like it got too late. And we went upstairs and like you come down the next morning and like the end of it is curled up.
Oh yeah, that's
and the
best.
Cheese is like.
Oh, it's the
now,
best.
do you reheat it or do you just eat cold?
I eat cold, and that's like table cold. But
yeah,
I mean, now that I got kids, I refrigerate it because
right.
I'm not trying to get everyone. But when I grew up, it was
you don't
on
know.
the counter.
What does happen to cheese when you leave it out too much?
Honestly, when you're supposed to leave cheese out before you eat it. Did you know that?
Oh, so it like becomes like a room temperature type thing?
You're supposed to eat cheese at room temp.
Been doing pizza the next day all wrong.
No, I mean hot's fine. I like hot cheese on a hot slice, yeah, but
you can never make a pizza taste the same as when you first get it. Unless the only microwave never.
You ever try stovetop with a little bit of water?
No.
Try it next time. That's as close as you can get. You get a lid.
Right.
You get your pan. Put just a splash of water in there so it's steamy.
Right.
Put your pizza in. Lid. Let it steam up. Couple minutes.
And that brings like the cheese and everything back to that moisture. Yeah, because
that's as close as you can get.
I mean, fixing pizza in the microwave, never. It's always different temperatures throughout it. Like the first bite, I'm like, oh shit,
Molten
there's like burning my tongue. The cheese is stopped, and then the next one, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's cold.
Cold, yeah.
So yeah, the pizza's a tough one.
Stovetop.
Stovetop with a lid. Interesting. I'm gonna get a pizza just to try that. Domino's, can I get a pizza?
Can I get
cold?
yesterday's pizza? Do you have any?
But yeah, let's see. What's another big difference between West Virginia and where you're from? How are they with vehicles there?
Vehicles.
Like with maintenance and inspections and.
Okay, so everything's a ripoff in both places, though.
Right.
But yeah, Rochester's more tight on the first time I got an inspection here, I have a 2019 Jeep. I pull up, guy literally goes, any check engines on? I was like, no. Any other lights? No. He's like, okay. He has me check my high beams, tail lights, signals.
Right.
He walks around, he kicks the tires. He's like, all right, you good. He gives me a new inspection sticker. That would literally never happen in Rochester. In Rochester, in New York in general, it gets wild. They have to hook every machine up, or every car to the machine. The machine is registered by New York State, and it tells them everything that's wrong with your car, the emissions, all this stuff.
Wow.
They check the tint on your windows at the inspection. They drive your car. They do all sorts of. You don't stay in or with your car when there's an inspection.
They're going through all.
They're going through the whole thing, and it takes several hours. And they actually have cameras that in every New York State inspection place, cameras that watch the people inspecting the car, and that feed actually reports automatically back to the state.
Wow.
And so they monitor the people doing the inspections to make sure they're doing them correct. And literally here it's just like Toothless Joe, and he was just like, yeah, you're good, buddy. Here's your sticker.
Now, we do have plenty of places that are like that. And then some places do more in depth, but not that in depth. Like they're checking the tint. I think it's
35.
35%.
It's 70 up there.
70.
Like it's basically clear glass. You can't have tint in the front.
Wow. But I think that's where here, if your car goes into the back and you're not with it to get inspected, you're going to have something you need to have done on it. Like, that's the thing. If you don't go to like a small shop where you get to stand with your car and they look it over a little bit, if you take it to a main garage and they take it in the back, there's always, more than likely, they're going to be, oh, you need this, you need that. Tires are looking a little bald. Oh, really? Because I got this like 2 weeks ago. Tires bald from test drives. Like
tires bald. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do feel. I do believe though our inspection now does last 2 years. Which
that's another thing.
Effect. It's always been 1 year.
That's huge. I like that a lot.
It need to be done.
This is again like the rip off in both states. Like so, that's cool about West Virginia. But dude, I just got a bill for the ambulance, the sheriff and fireman, and then we're on well water, but I still have to pay for the storm water. Like, there's all these weird bills you just get throughout the year, and I don't. Maybe I'm being scammed, but like I don't know.
No, that's right.
It's like hundreds of extra dollars that aren't included in any other taxes you pay that are just billed directly to you. And what if you don't pay them? Does the ambulance not come pick you up when you die?
I don't know. Like it's
like what happens if you don't pay the storm water? Were they going to shut off your well? Like I don't get it. What do they do? What is this for?
I don't know. Like the fee, I've never really looked into what
wild.
You mean the fee goes to. Like, is that paying for like the gas, maybe the gas of the vehicles? I don't know. Rochester didn't have that.
In Rochester, you have your. I didn't even pay for garbage pickup. That's included in your taxes.
Wow.
You pay your taxes and everything's paid. Now the taxes are fucking absurd.
Yeah.
So
that's so you deserve.
The taxes are absurd. Like, our house is more than double the size here and 3 times the cost of our original house in Rochester, and the taxes were still more in Rochester by a factor of 2. So the house, the size house that we have now in Rochester would be unaffordable in terms of just taxes alone. Half of our mortgage in Rochester, our mortgage was $1,000 a month. 500 of it was taxes.
Wow.
More than 500. Our mortgage by itself for just the property would have been $490 or something like that. So over $500 of our monthly bill that we were paying was paying towards taxes on that house.
So all in all, outweigh it living wise.
It's
cost effective.
It's probably more affordable to live here. Yeah.
More affordable.
Yeah.
Now,
but just those other bills are just annoying.
Now the part of West Virginia we live in is a little higher because we do have that 81 corridor traffic, and we are closer to other states. Now, if you go up to different parts of West Virginia, it starts to drop. Housing starts to drop, like cost of living starts to drop. We live in one of the most boosted parts of West Virginia, economic-wise.
Yeah.
So, that is a good factor. Like, I wouldn't want to live up in some of the mountains and stuff. It's just not my thing.
Yeah.
Like, there's people that live a half hour away from my exit that takes them to get to Walmart. Like, I don't want to live a half hour, 40 minutes from that necessity, that where I could just jump in a car 5 minutes, go to Walmart, get what I need, and come home. But I really haven't traveled West Virginia hugely. But people like it because it's a beautiful state. I will tell you, a couple weeks ago, I traveled to watch my niece's regional game in what's called Nitro, West Virginia. And I went by myself. I met the family up there. It was a 4-hour drive. So I get in the car and I'm start going through West Virginia. I'm like, I get up there and I'm like, this is beautiful. Like I can see far out. I can see the mountains. Sun's flickering off the trees. An hour goes by. I'm like, this is still lots of trees. 2 hours go by. I'm like, fuck this, man. I'm about to fall asleep. Like I'm done with the beauty shit. Like when you travel through it or you're going through it for a little while, it's beautiful. But when you're going 3 hours straight seeing the same thing,
just trees,
it is not as beautiful. It's something on replay that you're watching to try to fall asleep. Like that's what it is.
Hypnotizing.
Yes, it is just trees and trees and trees. But one thing I did find out, Nitro is named after its nitroglycerin plant that they put in at one point. And it was put in during one of the world wars. I'm no historian on West Virginia at all, but I did read about this a little bit. And during one of the world wars, they opened like 3 of these places because we were producing enough ammunition. So it's like this hundreds of acre land, and they opened it to make smokeless ammunition.
Wow.
And it brought in people to this place, and that's how it became like a little city. And people came there to work, and they came there to live. And once they shut that plant down, it was
poverty.
Poverty.
That's what happened in Rochester. It's actually a funny story. Rochester was the home of Kodak. Still is. And Xerox and Bausch and Lomb, some big brands back in the day. But they've all since basically, all but short of stopped operations. I mean, Kodak's gone bankrupt, I think, twice. They still have a building there for some reason. They still exist. But, back in the day, everybody, all of our parents and grandparents, worked for Kodak. And then when Kodak shuts down, the whole city's unemployed, basically.
Right. And I would say that's how, up in those parts of West Virginia with coal mining used to be huge. Like it was from grandfather to father to son to the next generation. Like you were into coal minings, and that's what these towns ran off of. So, I mean, when you shut things down like that, like you're not just shutting down the coal mine, you're shutting down your city in general. Because people got to go somewhere else, up and move, and they're going to find jobs.
I think we're both in this kind of Rust Belt sort of, city in a way. Blue collar, working people. Like factory work at Kodak was not glamorous, so I think that's something we have in common. But, coal mine is a little different. Honestly, I don't think anybody should be mining coal. West Virginians are going to hate to hear that, but
they will hate to hear that.
Yeah, I don't think we need to be mining coal. Let's get a robot to do that job.
If they get, I mean, the
Nobody
only thing
has
with
that.
If you do it now, your technology, even if you didn't use robots and you still used humans, your technology should be so much better for respiratory,
hopefully,
safety factors, things like that. But I could not imagine back in the day as like every day was a risk going to your job.
Yeah, I mean, go back far enough, you'd be working in the coal mines.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
you might be dead by now, actually.
I could. I might be if I was back in that town. We sitting here doing this 90 years old.
Yeah.
But I think if you look at it in any way, everybody always thinks about moving. And I know you thought about moving different places, and you have moved different places.
Moving again.
And one of the biggest things is you hear people say, I want to move to the beach. Or I want to move here up in the mountains where it's going to be beautiful. And
people move for the visual aesthetic sometimes.
Right. And I think once you move,
you get sick of it.
It's the same thing. It's going to eventually be the same thing.
Yeah.
Like you're going to walk. I don't care how much you love the beach. When you walk out and see the beach every day, eventually it's going to ruin that little bit of wow factor when you go once or twice a year.
Yeah. I think
it becomes more normalized.
Yeah.
To you.
I think for us to have happiness, I think people in general need variability and uncertainty to some degree. Some level of surprise and excitement that, tickles your brain. But if it, becomes monotonous every single day and it's the norm and it's expected that every day you walk out and you hear the sound of the ocean, it'll probably get boring at some point. You won't feel the same way about it.
Unless you're retired, I think it's more moving is more of like an economic factor. Like,
yeah, people move for jobs or safety or, I think those are two main reasons why to move.
So that's another thing going back to where we live right now. We have a lot of DC and Baltimore people that buy their houses here.
Yeah, we're like the farthest suburb from DC. And
what gets to me a little bit is they're driving their BMWs, they're driving their Mercedes, they're driving these $100,000 Tahoes around town, and they seem like they're a little bit better or big shots, but you're living in a townhouse in where I live, so you don't have to pay $500,000 for a townhouse down where you live.
That's for sure.
So it's like they're living two different lives. It's like when they go into DC, I'm a DC guy.
Yeah.
But when they're coming back, like, bro, you live in West Virginia. Like, that's your place of work. That's not you.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason.
That's true.
I mean, literally, all you got to do is go a half hour down the road in townhouses, shoot from 250,000 to 450,000 within a half hour, 40 minutes.
Yeah.
That's how big a difference it is.
Yeah. No, that's true. In Rochester, you don't really have I mean, there are wealthy folks, but they live in Rochester. They're Rochesterians. Because nobody lives in Rochester to travel to work somewhere else. You certainly wouldn't travel to New York City. It's 6 hours.
Right.
So you live there because that's where you work. And so there are a few people who are, driving Lambos and nice cars, but most of the time it's like really blue collar stuff. But yeah, here, you see that. Anytime someone's driving a real nice, like I saw a Bentley down the street the other day. I mean, your neighbor has a Cybertruck. Did you see that?
No.
Right in the corner of your neighborhood, there's a Cybertruck.
No way.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
No, haven't seen it. That's pretty nice.
So, I mean, there's some money around.
Now, if you had to, if somebody came to you again, these are one of these questions.
Is this a favorite question?
This is.
Oh, God.
If somebody said, okay.
What car would you drive forever?
Any state that you want.
Oh, okay. All
any state that you want, but you're guaranteed once you go there, you have to live there until you die.
Has to be in United States?
Yes.
Oh, man. Dude, don't do this to me.
This is why I'm doing it to you.
I don't know, man. I think, there's a part of me that would like to be back in Rochester because, I have family and friends there, but
right.
There's places around the country I enjoy a lot more. Dude, I don't know. Okay, so, I've been... I really like the Southwest. I like the climate there. It feels more tolerable when it's hot.
Mm-hmm.
I like California. My buddy lives in Salt Lake. Salt Lake was awesome. But I don't know that I want to live my whole life there. Dude, I don't know.
So you would stick more on the East Coast?
I think I'm an East Coast guy.
If you had to pick that.
I'm an East Coast guy, but... hard to know even where. There's places outside. The question actually would be easier if you said anywhere in the world, believe it or not. Because my favorite place in the world that I've ever been to was Florence, Italy. I would move to Florence.
Well, maybe that was my next question.
Yeah, I fucked you up. But
I would split it up.
I would move to Florence tomorrow if my family was on board.
Yeah, I think if I had to pick, and I probably would regret it, maybe. But if I had to pick, and it was between life or death, Denver, Colorado.
Denver?
I like
I've never been.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Everybody's happy. Everybody's happy because they're all high, pretty much. But
yeah, right.
And I noticed there, when you go downtown Denver, people are in workout clothes. Nobody's dressed up.
Chilling.
If you're going out for lunch, you're wearing, what you wear to the gym. Because there's so much hiking. Not that I hike. I'm not a hiker.
You a hiker?
No, but there is that option. There's a lot of beautiful places to hike. I like the fact that they can get a snowfall, and it looks like it's going to be insane, and then a few hours later it's gone.
So that's how Rochester is.
Oh, is it?
Rochester has a fleet of plow trucks.
Right.
There's been days where we've had 3 feet of snow overnight, and you wake up and you could see the street.
It's just corn. Now, Denver does have that effect of the oxygen level that you have to get used to. I mean, that plays a big part. I've been there for a Denver Broncos game, and just walking down through to get to the seats in the stadium and walking up the steps, you can feel the difference. So yeah, the oxygen level's a little different out there that you have to get used to. But
Yeah.
I would pick Denver. But Florence, Italy. I mean,
Have you
I've seen
been?
pictures.
No.
I would love.
Have you been to Italy?
No,
You went to Spain, though, right?
Went to Spain.
Where about in Spain did you go?
So we stayed in Madrid,
Okay.
and then
I had friends who fucking hated Madrid. What was your feeling of Madrid?
I was not a fan of Madrid.
Yeah.
Madrid is too much like a United States city. Like, it's just like a city. I absolutely loved when we went to like places like Toledo, where it's the old towns,
Oh, yeah.
where it's the brick
Cobblestone.
narrow streets.
Yeah.
And the castles, and like that's what I like. If I'm going to go to a different country, I want to see the actual representation of what that country is. I know what a damn
What
city
it was
is.
500 years ago.
So, like, but I mean,
Yeah.
they still keep that aspect of it.
No, right.
Like,
It's heritage to them, yeah.
like Toledo, when we went in, they still have like an original sword making place. Like
Like
the
a
guy is
blacksmith?
in there with the apron on, beating on it with sparks flying, still making the swords at the same place that was years ago.
That's wild.
So yeah, when I go to another country, I want to feel like I'm in another country. And even though we stayed in Madrid, I would love to go back and stay in somewhere like the older version of Spain rather than being.
Yeah.
In
I
that part.
did Barcelona,
Oh,
and
yes.
I didn't like it for that same reason. It just felt like a congested concrete city.
Right.
Skyscrapers and stuff. But San Sebastian was this like small Spanish city that's over by the border of France, and it's like a water fishing city.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, all cobblestone. It's like the blocks are very like the neighborhood blocks are very rigid, square, because it was like an old city built around a castle. It was cool. I really like that.
I like to connect things to what I've seen on TV. Like when we were walking through there, and they have like the oval windows. Like I picture like on
yeah.
TV the back in the day, the lady with like the apron on, throwing out the like, "Hey Suzanne, have a good day." And she's like walking up the street.
Right.
Not like the city that we have. Beep beep beep.
Yeah.
And you got to watch you're not getting run over. So yeah, there's two totally different.
Two different things, yeah. And Florence is a lot like the latter, or is a lot like the former, rather. It's like a real old feeling, classical architecture.
Mm.
But one of the best things, I don't even really drink wine, but you go there and you sit down at a restaurant, they just serve you wine like you get water here. Like you
Right.
just get a table wine. And it's like literally the stuff they make, like their homemade restaurant wine. And it is the best. It's the free wine, and it's the best wine you ever had.
So if you go there and you drink a little bit of wine and you don't really have a favorite, and you go there, you're going to find something you like because just that's what they're good at. Like
Yeah, I mean-
something's going to spark your interest.
I was reading about it at one point. There's something that we have to do in America to process wine
Mm-hmm.
that they don't do there. Like I don't remember the process, but it's like how in with milk or whatever we pasteurize our milk, right? And some people say like raw milk tastes better or whatever.
If you had to pick one kind of milk to drink,
Oh God, for the rest of my life, Jesus, dude, I'm not even gonna answer that. But yeah, man, I think whatever they don't or do to the wine there is baller. It's great. You gotta try.
but that's what makes somewhere else like that special. That's why going out makes that country, that
Yeah.
area special, and that's what you want to do when you visit somewhere else. What the hell do I want to travel out of the country to see something I see here? Like
That's true.
I want to experience something different.
Yeah, this reminds me. I think for this show we could try to do something that we think the other person may or may not enjoy or normally do. Right? Like
Right.
for example, I've never been to NASCAR. In the last episode, you talked about going to NASCAR.
Oh yeah,
Maybe we do a NASCAR thing and then react live on the show.
That'd be good.
Or I take you to, you know, a gang shooting in Rochester. A drive-by.
That'd be awesome.
Witness your first drive-by.
Right.
You know? What do you think?
No, I mean, it just shows that how different, you know, like people can be, because some people can settle down and be in one place for the rest of their life and they're happy.
It's true.
My mind's always rolling. Like, I always wonder what's out there.
Yeah.
And what's different. And Rochester does not sound like a place that I would want to live.
Well, I didn't really sell it. You know, I kind of told you about all the bad stuff, but...
Right, but it seems like you would definitely go back.
I would. There's a lot of great stuff about
and
Rochester.
family plays a big part in that.
Family, too, definitely. Yeah.
I'll be in Denver and you'll be in Florence, Italy. I'll send you some snow.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll send you some wine.
That sounds good.
All right. We're going to do another episode next week?
Another episode next week. It'll be a surprise again.
Yeah.
We never know what we're getting into.
Yeah, we haven't planned anything yet, really.
I will keep the rest of your life kind of sentences out.
Oh, jeez.
Now that I know that you
Favorites
like those so
forever?
much.
What's your all-time favorite you can only have for the rest of your life?
You have to walk, skip, or jump for the rest of your life.
Oh my God. I'm walking. That's easy. All right. Episode 2.
Out.
Out.